everybody. I'm your host for this digital dialogue, Nora Osman, founder and CEO of Norvana. And I'm super excited today to bring to you this amazing topic, Humanizing AI, Real-World Playbook for Change. And with me today, I have three guests. I'm going to go in order. First, I'll introduce Kathleen Hurley. Kathleen is the founder and CEO of her company and has worked at the intersection of technology and business operations through her career. She has led transformative technology initiatives for prominent firms in the commercial real estate and financial services sectors, translating business strategy into measurable outcomes. She successfully executed regulatory audits with outstanding results, and she is passionate about utilizing her experience with business operations, risk management, technology, and collaborative thinking to help organizations grow to their next stage potential. Most recently, she founded Sage Inc., that's the secret, focused on bringing technology, cybersecurity, and AI and automation solutions to small and mid-sized businesses. Welcome, Kathleen. All right. I'm going to refer to her as Kate because she likes to be called Kate. So Kate it is from now on. And also with us is 𝗗𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗁, who is a distinguished leader in healthcare information technology, renowned for his strategic insights and transformative impact on the industry. As managing partner and digital transformation strategist at IO Tech Consulting and CTO for Ask Me, My MD, also known as Amy MD Virtual Care Provider Network, Christopher provides critical guidance on emerging healthcare technologies, compliance, and technology adoption. He's also an investor and advisor to companies focused on closing the healthcare equity gap. And previously, Christopher held senior roles, including Senior Vice President at Digital Acceleration at Divergent, Chief of Strategy for Juno Health, and Senior Vice President of Healthcare IT at Coker Group. Christopher's accolades include the College of Healthcare Information Management Executives, also known as CHIME, scholarship recipient, 2025 Georgia Life Science Helix Award recipient, and 2025 Health Impact Changemaker Award, as well as the 2024 HIMSS Changemaker Award. Welcome, Christopher.
Thank you.
Great to have you.
Happy
And last
to be
but certainly not least, 𝗗𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗁. 𝗗𝗶𝗴𝗶𝗁 is a transformational CIO and senior technology executive with over 3 decades of experience leading enterprise-wide digital cloud and operational strategies. Most recently, he served as Vice President and Chief Information Officer at Jack Henry, where he oversaw technology strategy and operations at one of Forbes' best places to work. His career also includes transformative leadership roles at TechnipFMC and PROS, where he drove operational rigor, digital information, and large-scale technology transformations across global organizations. Recognized as a 3-time Orbi CIO finalist, an active member of the Wall Street Journal CIO Council and CNBC Technology Executive Council, Rob is a trusted voice in the future of leadership and technology. Today, he channels his experience into advisory services, thought leadership, and leadership development. At the core of Rob's work is a belief that transformation begins not with technology, but with people. Welcome, Rob. Great having you.
Thank you, Nora. Happy to be here with you.
It's really an amazing honor for me to have these 3 thought leaders here on this topic. And these are 3 leaders that are servant leaders, and they really lead with heart. And so everywhere you go, there is tons of panels, tons of conferences talking about AI, but they're talking about the speed of technology, the transformations that are happening in organizations. And they're not really talking too much about how to make it really human-centric, although they are talking about how it's going to impact companies and displacing resources. So I wanted to just flip for a second before we get into questions. Why was this topic especially important to you? Why did you say yes to me on this topic? So I'll start with Kate. Tell me what you're thinking and why this was important for you.
So one of the fascinating things to me about this particular transition in technology has been how bottom up it's been driven, and how this is not a initiative that has come from leadership down like email was. If you're old enough to remember when email hit the stage, it was driven from the top down by and large. But this is coming from the bottom up. Individuals are interested in using AI, and they're driving the vision and the change faster than the executive branch of your organization can get their arms around how to vision and use it within the organization. And so what I see is an extremely human transformation, because it's actually the people of the company who are driving it and not necessarily those at the top. I think that this may be the most human transformation we've seen operationally yet.
Wow, that's a really interesting perspective. So I could see now why you're very passionate about that. It's a bottom-up transformation. I'll have to say I wouldn't have thought about it that way, but thank you for sharing that perspective. Yeah. Rob, tell me what made you say yes to this one.
Yeah, thanks, Nora. Well, beyond my appreciation and respect for you, I've found myself at the intersection of technology and human-to-human interaction, and I'm passionate about both of those things. So right now we are at an inflection point with AI, just like we've been at an inflection point with the internet, with the mobile phone, with the smartphone, with the iPad, etc. And this is really something I'm excited for and happy to be here to help share my knowledge and experience and also learn from others.
Thank you for that. I love that you're talking about an inflection point, and it feels like it's been a long time that we're talking about this, but honestly, it's only been what, 2 years? Maybe a little bit more than 2 years?
You know, it's really funny about that, Nora. You're exactly right. It's been 2 years. I was actually meeting with someone about an opportunity, and they told me politely that they were looking for someone with more experience with AI than I had. And I said, okay, well, how much experience are you looking for? And they asked for anywhere from 5 to 10 years. And I just thought, well, good luck, because this is such a new thing for us, even though it's only 2 years old.
Absolutely. Chris, what made you say yes?
Well, the fact that you asked, that's okay. Chris is fine too. No, not as Rob mentioned, the fact that you asked, I would have accepted regardless, even if we're talking about a myriad of other issues besides AI. But also, I think we're at an interesting inflection point. My focus is primarily in the healthcare and life sciences space, and we are at a critical stage in the evolution of healthcare and the evolution of human beings as well too. Never at any point in time that we've had this many people on the planet that we have today. We're at a very critical stage in that the last baby boomers turned 60 last year and the first Gen Xers turned 60 this year. And so by 2030, we'll have more people over 60 than under 5 years of age. And by 2050, we'll have twice the number of people over 65 than we do today, over 2 billion plus people around the world. We literally have a youth crisis that we're experiencing right now, and specifically in healthcare, we're seeing a lot of our healthcare professionals age out, nurses, doctors, healthcare professionals who are now moving into their senior years themselves, and we're just not replacing them fast enough. So AI has the potential to be a stopgap in many cases on being able to help provide care to individuals that what would normally have been delivered by human beings, but now will be delivered by artificial intelligence and robotics and other emerging technologies as well. So it's an interesting time right now, and interesting in healthcare. We're typically usually behind the curve on many innovations. This is one of the first times I've seen in my history in healthcare that we're actively and aggressively embracing this whole concept around AI, artificial intelligence, and emerging technology. So I think it's an exciting time to be in the industry right now.
So you think healthcare is going to finally catch up to the other verticals and maybe gain an advantage now that it has this superpower?
I think so. And I think to Kate's point too, it's a top, bottom up driven, initiatives. You see patients themselves being more savvy about the use of technology, AI in particular, where they're going out, they're diagnosing themselves in many cases using ChatGPT and other types of AI driven technology. So they're becoming much more savvier patients and advocates for their care. And I do think also you're seeing doctors and other healthcare professionals start to get comfortable with the efficacy of this technology as well as they start to use it more and more, realize that it has a pretty high level of reliability over time and can be used as an advisor today, maybe not necessarily having it work autonomously in diagnosing care today, although I predict in 5 years it will be. But today, it can be used as a really solid resource and an advisor for healthcare professionals who are trying to diagnose complex health
I think you're
conditions.
spot on because maybe the medical field, healthcare field has been one of those grayest areas where it's so hard to digest and understand the jargon. Obviously, most of us don't go to medical school, so it's so foreign. Even the
Yes,
explanation of benefits and understanding the CAT scan results and things like that, interpreting that in a human-centric way, that's a huge advantage. So for sure, we could probably talk a full 2 hours about the benefits we can get with that. But I want to
absolutely.
ask everybody this one question. If we think about AI hitting messy reality in your world, what has surprised you? What's actually broken, or what did you change in your next day when you discovered that you have AI in the in the corner there to support you or to benefit from? So I'll start with Kate. What is a surprise for you, or what do you action out because you now have AI and it can be an assistant for you?
I'm a big fan of governance, as you know, and I am a huge regulatory risk uh, proponent, even though I'm a nerd by trade. And so the first thing that came to my plate after everything sort of settled and we realized that this was going to be part of our reality was to put some guardrails around it um, and help people to make rational, reasoned decisions about how they would enact AI decisions. And this is the people enacting the decisions, not about how AI would act in our environment. So we initially did some policy development around how people were allowed to use AI.
Okay, so guardrails around governance and helping people feel safer around the use of AI. Okay, that is a really good insight. Rob, how about you? What was a big aha moment or something that you feel you weren't expecting?
Yeah, Nora,
Don't
I'm
know if
really
his screen
passionate.
froze.
Can you
Oh,
hear
there
me?
you are.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really passionate about people. And when we drive down the road of technology transformation, whether it's AI, whether it's some other form of transformation, oftentimes we forget that there's humans in the mix. And so the reason why it was messy for us from the onset with regards to AI was that we left the humans at the curb. We didn't take them with us on the journey. In other words, we force fed them. This is what you're going to get. You're going to like it. It's going to work. And so they were not invested in the process. And what surprised me the most was just how quickly the energy built up. There was no positivity around it. There was no team effort mentality. There was the morale was down. We needed to revisit and needed to revisit in short order how to reinvest the people back into the process. Because at the end of the day, Warren Buffett says it best: culture will eat strategy for breakfast. And if you don't have a strong culture to embrace change, it's not going to be successful.
So talk more about that. What's something you think can be done to embrace this and bring back the humanity of our world using this technology?
Yeah, for me, it starts with organizational change management. The best of intentions are executed by human beings, and so the humans in the loop need to be representative from across your organization. It can't just be the technology arm of the organization driving a mandate, driving an initiative. At the end of the day, every single person in our world is a technologist. Think about this. We have children, kindergartners with tablets learning from those devices. We have people that are on the other end of that spectrum, grandparents. Isn't it exciting to see our grandparents using technology to bank, to set appointments at a doctor's office, to order their groceries? And then you have all these folks that are at points in between in their life journey. So yeah, at the end of the day, making sure that we're connecting people to technology and using technology not as a replacement for the human, but as a teammate to the human.
I like how you said that, and it almost feels like we're resetting to the why. Why is it here? What's the purpose, right? Chris, from your perspective in the healthcare world, talk a little bit about how leaders are trying to get to that reset and understanding the purpose and leveraging AI in a human-centric way. If you're seeing that, or if not, what should they be doing?
Well, I think first and foremost, I mean, you can't go to a conference now or an event in healthcare and AI is not on the top of the agenda for most healthcare leaders today. They all are cautiously optimistic about the potential it has to improve the operations, improve the quality of care, improve the patient experience, and hopefully drive costs, down in the delivery of care as well. But I think the biggest concern right now that most healthcare leaders have is the efficacy associated with the technology itself. Now, will it do more harm than good? I mean, obviously, AI is dependent upon information and data, in order to create meaningful insights. The question is, where is it getting that information from? Is that information based on scientific and medical approved data, or is it surfing the web and other non-certified types of sources of information to create insights that might actually perpetuate additional biases in the delivery of care, create hallucinations, and actually create more harm than good? And so Kate's comments earlier about governance, I think it's absolutely critical that these organizations start to think about what the governance model will be around the use of AI in healthcare, and how they're going to ensure that it does more harm, more good than harm. And then at what point do we allow AI to not only just be an advisor, but actually drive the delivery of care, where we start to see it has a higher rate of accuracy than maybe human beings. We're already seeing that in some of the imaging technologies, radiology studies and things of that nature, where we're seeing AI able to diagnose patients' anomalies at a higher rate than the human eye. When do we start relying on it as the source of truth versus it being a resource for individuals, human beings, to rely upon? And then what is acceptable rates of error in the data that's coming out from these systems is still very much a debate that's taking place within healthcare.
I see Kate's nodding her head quite a bit, and I'm wondering, did you have something you wanted to share or add to that?
No, I'm just picturing a world where there is such a broad use of AI in an appropriate environment that's governed well, and what a difference it could make in healthcare where we're under-resourced and understaffed. And think about other environments that are similar, STEM fields in particular, and what a difference it could make in helping drive us forward. supporting humanity and not replacing it.
Absolutely. And to some degree, also, Kate, how does it hold humanity accountable for equitable care as well, too? When are we going to use it as a tool to measure us?
That's right.
And make sure that we're delivering quality care at a higher standard than we're doing today.
That's right.
And that's a fantastic point, the accountability point that you're referencing, Christopher.
Right.
Because we've all seen failures of AI. So just, and we talked about this in our planning session.
Mm-hmm.
Best case scenario today, AI is successful 95% of the time. Now that seems wonderful, doesn't it? Except, let's put it in its proper context here. None of us would board an airplane that lands successfully 95% of the time. That's not good enough, okay? And so at the end of the day, whether it's a human that works for our company or whether it's technology that's working for our company, we have accountability. So if there's a failure, no matter where in the chain the failure occurs, we have accountability for that.
Absolutely. And I think, Rob, also it's a matter of where the risk lies as well, too. To your point, we might not board a plane with a 95%, a 5% error rate driven by AI, but we go to doctors all the time and their error rates are higher than 95%, 5%. And so, we trust them to deliver quality care. And we can surely show statistically that it's less than, it's higher than 5%. So I think it's a matter of perception to some degree as well, too, and a matter of what level of safety and impact is going to have if you trust, if you ask yourself, what's the impact of the error if it occurs?
Okay, so let's stay on that topic then, because you brought it up, metrics. Let's wonder about this. What metric tells you AI is serving people and not just throughput? Or is there a metric that you've come up? And then I want to get to Doug's question right after that. So John, please hold that for a second. Can you think of a metric that we should be starting to introduce and share and champion at this point? Or is it a little bit too early?
I think you should just definitely establish a baseline at some point, right? And where you are with the technology and where you're trying to go. And I do think whatever the same metrics we're measuring human beings on in their quality and delivery, and specifically in healthcare, we should probably be applying similar metrics to the tools that we're using, especially if those tools are going to be, if we're going to consider those tools being used and making decisions autonomously as well, too. Mm-hmm. I mean, I predict literally in the next 5 years, we will have digital doctors. You will be able to go online, with your vitals that are already being measured on the wearables you have, download that information, and an AI bot technology will look at your DNA and your medical records and historically all input that a human being can't, and come up with some sort of precision healthcare for you based on a broader set of data that human beings just can't digest, and provide some level of care for you without a human interaction, primarily because we're not going to have enough human beings on the planet to be available to treat patients.
Exactly.
That's going to be the biggest challenge. And so are you going to want to wait 6 months to see a primary care physician? Or will you wait an hour or 5 minutes to get online and talk to a digital doctor who might be 95% correct in terms of your diagnosis?
You're spot on. I think you're making a comment here that the accuracy level is going to increase over time because we're pushing for it. We're sharing more data. So if we're going back to the theme of this dialogue, humanizing AI is more around what? Training it to be much more empathetic, a better listener, able to look at different aspects of information across different channels, and what a human being was able to do, it can do so that it could serve us better, right?
Yeah,
and allowing us to leverage the human being in a different capacity.
Right? Absolutely. And in fact, I believe it was a New England Journal of Medicine that did a study that showed that the AI chatbots were more empathetic in communicating with the patients than even human beings were. And so we're already seeing some of that emerging today, that these technologies can be taught to be more empathetic and more caring than human beings, because they never sleep. They're never tired. They don't have their own personal issues. They
No,
can
they don't
always
have their
consistently deliver the
own
same
center.
quality of care. Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw this wild card question. We didn't discuss this, but aren't those robots called humanoids? Right?
Yeah.
Have you guys been seeing all those ads for the humanoids that are, you can basically rent one for $500 a month, and it could do housekeeping, it could do cooking. Talk to me about whether that is a step in the right direction or in the wrong direction around humanizing AI. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, there's an emerging technology called age tech, again, silver tech, age tech. And as you look at us baby boomers, and I'm one of them who turned 60 last year. And, quite honestly, I don't want to go into a long-term care facility if I can avoid it. I want to age at home. And if I can have a bot that can, wash my clothes, feed me and, give me my medication and talk to me when I'm rambling on about my past, versus sitting in a home away from my familiar environment, I may be more inclined to consider that as an option than the alternative. Because for me, the alternative is not living, personally.
All right, I saw some facial expressions that, not sure if that is in alignment or a little bit different viewpoint on things. Kate, let me pick your brain on that. How do you feel about that?
I hadn't really thought of it as aging technology. That's a good application. I was thinking that as with many technologies, the first thing we do is put it into servitude. And that's so common with the way we treat things that it seems like the path that we just take as human beings. So it is truly humanizing technology.
But will it replace those intimate connections and relationships that we need in order to thrive? I saw Rob shaking his head, so no, right? We have to be careful with that. You want to say more about that?
Yeah, and look, everything Christopher said resonates with me. I keep going back to technology. It should not be a replacement for human-to-human interaction. People were put on this planet to interact with one another. And think back to when COVID happened, and we were troubled on how do we interact with one another. We couldn't do it in the traditional way. You remember when we came out of COVID, how awkward it was? People had lanyards on that signified their temperature, if you will, towards interacting. It was a traffic light protocol, if you will. Red light meant please no, yellow proceed with caution, a fist bump is okay, and green is, hey, I'm good with the way it used to be. Here's the thing that really troubles me right now. I don't know that again, let's just say that the technology is 2 or so years old. It's still being refined. It will be perpetually refined. We don't need to read of another story of a parent that's teenage child committed suicide because AI or an AI technology
assisted.
It said that this was what the path they should take and gave them instructions on how to successfully conduct the outcome. That's not what we need.
I agree too, Rob, and my heart goes out to those parents as well too, whose child chose technology over a human interaction. I do think though that, and I can only speak for myself, I have to be more conscious about how much of that technology interaction I'm allowing my child to have versus me stepping in and saying, okay, let's go outside and throw the ball. Let's go to the movies. Let's walk around and talk. How are you doing today? Let me sit in a room and play video games with you if that's what you're choosing. And I'm not saying the parents didn't do that. All I'm saying is if we're going to, make the technology the enemy, which I don't think it was a pacifier for something that was missing in my mind. Right. And that is that human interaction. And so we have to be very cognizant about making sure we don't just acquiesce to technology being the babysitter, being the therapist, being the companion. We as human beings have to also, in some cases, force ourselves to interact with individuals because there are some people who just naturally aren't comfortable being around other human beings.
Correct. Yeah. I know there's a question lurking that is going to come up, so let's bring it up. Okay, so from Sue Saunders, are you using a governance framework in deploying your AI, as this will drive certain metrics and ensure the human is in the loop? That's a very good question. Thank you, Sue. Anybody want to tackle that?
Yeah, I can tell you from a healthcare. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say from a healthcare perspective, is absolutely a requirement. We deal with people's lives on a day-to-day basis, and there's quite a bit of scrutiny that's put in place on how we leverage technology. Today, we're not leveraging technology to operate autonomously. It is still very much a tool to advise and provide insight to our healthcare providers, and we are very clear in my industry that it is not a tool that drives the final decision. It's ultimately a human being that decides the value of the information that's being shared, and they have the right not to take the advice of the technology and go a different direction as well too. And so from a healthcare perspective, we see it as a tool, a resource, but we still hold the individuals accountable ultimately for the quality of care that's delivered to our patients. And we do have review boards that reviewed anytime these technologies are used, and what was the efficacy of that technology? Did it provide value, or did it lead the clinicians down a wrong path?
That's really very key to think about. And I'm wondering, Kate or Rob, do you have any guardrails that you're putting in place around that as well?
Yeah,
in your industries, in your spaces.
No doubt. So, much like healthcare, financial services is a regulated industry. Beyond human health, I think that the second most impactful thing that's on people's minds is money, right? And no judgment here. There are some people that have those inverted, right? So they would focus on financial health before personal health. All that aside, there must be guardrails. And I go back to the human in the loop and inviting the humans into the process because I think the question was geared towards, are you slowing down AI? Are you stopping it? Firstly, you're not going to stop it. So you need to accept and embrace that. And don't just think about it at this point in time. Think about other inflection points that we've been at. There's no way to stop progress. It's going to happen whether we want it to or not. So we might as well embrace it and put those guardrails in place. And reasonable people will see, hey, a committee of people that is representative of me, our company, it has created this governance model, this protection model to enable the successful use of AI, of technology. And we have also created an ability to be agile. In other words, to pivot. If we're doing something that we thought we wanted to do, but now we realized, oh my goodness, that's not the outcome we wanted, we reserve the right to stop or pivot and go in a different direction.
That's a really good point. And so I want to.
I will say this too, just to find out.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, just a follow up to that. This is one of the first technologies that we've seen this rapid adoption, not only just at the individual level, but throughout our entire ecosystem, business, finance, healthcare, you name it. It has just permeated so quickly across all these different verticals, and it's still very much in its infancy when we think about it. True agentic AI is just a few years old for the most part. And so we're just at the very early stages of this. And I think we have to be cognizant of that and understand that we still have to, we're all learning how to govern and use AI. We're going to have successes, we're going to have failures. We're going to learn from this process, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer at this point. It's just a journey we're all on right now.
I think you're spot on, and we have not figured it out, and we're going to just write this as we go. Kate, did you want to comment on that, or?
I think Christopher's spot on. I think there's a element of trial and error, A/B testing, trust in the environment that has to be established. I think if you've already got a technology team that is established and trusted, you're ahead of the game, because you will have that that camaraderie within the organization that says, give us a chance, we'll partner with you, and we'll try to make this work.
Otherwise, it's forced.
Yeah.
It's a mandate coming down from the CEO, the CIO, the C-level executive, right?
Yeah.
That's right. And I think everyone within an organization should be taught AI to some degree. AI 101, right? You know, whether it's the maintenance guy to, you know, the cook, you know, you name it, everyone needs to have some exposure to AI, because AI is impacting their jobs and their business in some form or fashion. And oh, by the way, it can be a tool for them to apply appropriately. And so you got people concerned about AI taking their jobs. Well, it might take a job if you don't evolve and learn how to use it in a way that benefits your job. And I think there's the opportunity as well. You can't put your head in the sand and say, oh, I hope this thing goes away because I see autonomous cars driving and I'm a cab driver now. You got to figure out how you're going to leverage it in the new world where you have autonomous cars. And that's where the opportunity, I think, presents itself.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nora.
So it's almost like you have to evolve or you're going to dissolve. As a business, for sure, right? You're disrupted whether you know it or not. And I want you to finish your thought, and then I have a curveball question for you, Rob.
Yeah, Nora, Christopher, it's not. We've been here before. Think about it. And we talked about this as we were preparing for this event. So that it was very impactful and meaningful to people. Think of the Industrial Revolution when robots were on assembly lines. I'm sure that there were conversations, maybe not on a live stream, but in a coffee shop, in a pancake house, about, oh my goodness, that machine is going to take my job. So I have to find a way to bring value and reskill myself. And that's our duty as leaders, to be at the tip of the sphere for the effort to reskill people. Get them to where they're bringing value in newer and maybe even more exciting ways.
Exactly. And is some jobs going to become obsolete? Yes. Let's go ahead and be honest about it. There's some jobs that AI is going to replace. Now you need to start. And if you think that's what you're going to be your job, you need to be thinking about, now, how do I retool myself, to your point, Rob? And this new evolution of business that we're in today.
And it's because AI makes things better, faster, and cheaper in a lot of ways. And you cannot dispute, if it's better and faster and cheaper, what business is going to say, no, I'm not doing this. So it brings me to this somewhat controversial question, but I do have to ask it. What companies, what organizations are the poster child for getting it right, or they're starting to do the right thing to model the right behavior, being human-centric and humanizing this charter for going, to an AI first world or strategy? Can you think of anybody?
Yeah, I can. And I posted on LinkedIn about this recently. So I think Citi is doing it right. Now, granted, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Citibank. Okay. And here's why I say they're doing it right. Because they are bringing the humans to the table to drive outcomes that benefit other humans. Okay. And there's been a couple of articles that have really triggered me to think, wow, how does a big bank like Citi scale up, down? Because there's a lot going on and it can be overwhelming. They are very mindful of the outcomes that they're trying to solve for. And for a bank, the most important outcome is driving an improved account holder experience. And if technology can help enable another human to drive that experience better, all for it. Because at the end of the day, at some point or another, you're going to need another human.
Okay. Can anybody think of another organization?
Yeah, this is Christopher. It has nothing to do with healthcare. But I think the fast food industry is starting to embrace AI and leverage it in an effective way. Not that I go to fast food a lot, but when I do, I really like the fact that I can pull up to the drive-through and AI is taking my order now and not a human being, because it gets it right and it's pleasant. And, how many times have we driven up to that fast food, menu stand, and the person, you have to repeat your order 3 times or 4 times. Person doesn't sound like they're having a great day. You get there and your order's wrong. Now you can go into the fast food restaurant and enter your own order in. So if it's wrong, it's your own fault.
That's
So
really,
if you're reading the tea leaves, you think that the service industry, hospitality, is prime for use cases around this, where they could really humanize their delivery model, maybe interpret your specific dialect or your accent and kind of meet you where you are instead of have you cornered, right?
I personally am happy to see when I come to one of those places and it's all automated, because now I don't have to interact with someone who's having a bad day.
You know what? This is really, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nora.
No, go ahead. No, I want to hear it. Go ahead.
This is really thought-provoking. And Nora, you and I have this joint passion for customer service. And what we've talked about is what we're really out to do is create memorable experiences for someone. And so what Christopher shared is the use of technology is improving his experience at a fast food restaurant. Now let's think of the same a similar venue or another restaurant. I oftentimes go into a restaurant and can't find a human to take my order. They want me to place my order through technology, and 60 to 70% of the time, the technology doesn't seem to work, or I don't know how to use it because I've not been trained to use it. Okay? And now you think about that experience. We're used to going to a restaurant, ordering food, having it cooked for us, having it served to us, having the dishes cleaned up. But now ask yourself, the last time you were at, and I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want to disparage any companies. The last time you went into a restaurant, did they refill your soft drink? Did they clear your plates? Or did they just take your order, bring your food, and drop off the check, and you're trying to clear plates out of your way just so you can add a tip?
I do think that's to some degree generational too. Rob, I'll be perfectly honest, because I'm a baby boomer too. I'm used to having my order taken by a human being. I'm used to interacting with a human being. But if you ask my 26-year-old son, he doesn't have to have that interaction. He'd much rather order his order online before he gets to the store, and it's already ready and he picks it up.
Fascinating.
So let me just pull it in, because I think what we're talking about is keeping the human in the middle of everything, and it's designing for delight. I think whether it's delighting the human that is the customer, or delighting the human that is the person providing the service or the product, somehow AI needs to be the superpower that allows us to do that. That, in my opinion, is how humanizing this AI world is going to benefit us. If we are factoring in, how do we design for less, turning those friction moments into fuel, making it easier for people to consume new technologies and pivot with the change? Because to your point, it is going to accelerate, and you're going to find a lot of different ways to pivot. Okay, so Doug has a comment. Mariana V. 𝗗𝗶𝗴𝗶𝘁. This is why techniques like design thinking can help humans understand the benefits of AI adoption, as well as help the AI understand the human perspective. Exactly. I think there's definitely room for us to pause and kind of figure out how to simplify this so that it is not only solid, it is scalable, because we've got a lot of moving parts and a lot of transformation happening. But we are going to have to meet people where they are.
Right, and I think to your point,
it depends on the person and the generation and their demographic and their stage in life. It's really about taking all those artifacts and figuring out, how do we customize for them?
Right, and to your point, Bob, and I'm not discounting by any means, to your point, the experience should be a positive one for you. And so the question is, are they taking into account your perspective of what you expect out of a customer service, and in building that into an AI experience as well too. That's the journey we're still on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what fundamentally is challenging right now is we're looking at these as in silos: technology, human. If we can blend them together, so now go up a level, go to upscale steakhouse. Wouldn't it be great if when you walked in and you were seated, the humans already knew that you were celebrating an event? They know that you order your steak a certain temperature. Your significant other orders fish because they're not a meat eater, and know that you have a special bottle of wine that you almost always order. And they would proceed to help you process that order taking. And you might completely throw a curve at them. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to have the ribeye tonight. I'm going to have the tomahawk. I'm going large today.
Yeah. Right. No, absolutely. And I think to your point, for me, if I'm going to a high-end steak, restaurant, I do want a human interacting. I want him telling me, going through the wine list, telling me what he liked, what's his favorite meal on the menu. That's an experience, right? If I'm going to a fast food restaurant, I just want my food and I'm out of there. I don't, and I want it to be as frictionless as possible, and I want me to walk in with a good attitude and leave with a good attitude.
That's where the human reads the body language, understands the history better, and maybe it's going to shift where they're assisted by AI. Kate, I feel like you're perched on the edge here. You wanted to say something, and I know we're down to the last 10 minutes, so I want to make sure I'm getting as much of the juices that are flowing with everybody into this dialogue. So.
I'm thinking about checking in at a hotel and how I've been to several hotels which are blending things very nicely. A bit like Rob described with merging these technologies, where you have fewer staff people now than you would have had 5 years ago, but you still have staff people, and you are able to self-check in. Or you are able to do an assisted check-in, which is sort of a hybrid experience, or they're going to check you in a complete do-it-for-you model. And so I think there are industries that are embracing the technology in a way that serves you based on where you are and lets you pick at the point of service which you feel like using today, and doesn't silo you into a model on a permanent basis. Because let's face it, there are days when you don't feel like doing self-check-in and you need somebody to walk you through it, especially when it comes to checking into a hotel. You may have been on the road for 12 hours. You know how airfare is right now. And so I think there are ways to look at people who are doing this really well and stretch it across different industries.
I like what you're saying because it speaks to one of my favorite things, the platinum rule. Treat people as they want to be treated. And I think AI has the ability to deliver the platinum rule because it can amass the massive amount of data points and figure out, how does Rob Zelenka want to be greeted, treated, handled throughout his entire stay? How does Christopher Cunny want? How does Kate Hurley want? Everybody will be treated uniquely if we capitalize on our ability to leverage technology that way. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, and to expand on that, what you said is really important, because oftentimes we get that wrong. We tend to treat others the way we want to be treated. In fact, you've heard people say that.
Unfortunately, that's the golden rule. People keep championing that. That's a myth.
It is, and it's broken because the way I want to be treated may be inconsistent with the way you want to be treated, Nora, and that's perfectly acceptable. And going back to the point about the hotel or the restaurant, or take your service business of choice. Someone that just met me has no idea how I want to be treated. So therein lies the best case scenario for where AI can assist the human to quickly learn about Rob, Nora, whomever.
Right. And it could pick up on audio-visual cues, the way you were limping, the way you scratched your ear, you hesitated in your answer, things that we may not be as well equipped anymore because we are exhausted from the amount of information and how stressed we are from trying to do so much all the time. So
Well,
I do think it's a benefit if we capitalize on it the right way, if we purposely bring these inputs in at the right time to design a better experience. But it is intentional. It has to be intentional, this design for delight approach. And I think companies who are going to win, and this is just my editorial comment, are the ones who figure out the best way to do that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, and I do think there are opportunities. To your point, real time, you're walking in, you haven't, you don't know what your day's like. But my flight was delayed 3 times. I'm walking in, I'm pissed. So, it's not going to probably get that right. But if I'm at home and I know I'm planning a trip and I know what I want my experience to be like, I can design that up front. And so when I walk in the door, I should be expecting that type of service. And so there's where AI and the merge between AI and human beings can actually create an experience for us.
I know we won't get to talking about privacy much because I think that's a different can of worms. But at some point, if we start to, as consumers, allow the collection of a lot of these data points from different places, then that could actually be pre-fed into the systems where we are going in for support. So they would know that you were in an Uber and that your flight was delayed and, your last meal was 14 hours ago and, you're missing your medication because you had blah, blah, blah. Perhaps we get to a point where we trust enough that our information is shared appropriately to service us. I don't know if that's going to be very easy, but I think there's a point in time where if the systems work towards our benefit, not towards our destruction, we will have humanized this technology and it services us appropriately. And with that, I know, we're out of time. This has been an amazing dialogue. I think I could talk with you guys for 3 more hours on so many of these little angles here, and we still wouldn't be done, scratching the surface on this. So final last words, anything you want to leave everybody with? So I'll start with you, Kate. Anything you want to impress on people?
No, thank you, Nora. This has been great.
Okay, Christopher?
No, thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to be a part of the dialogue. I really enjoyed the conversation. I would just say that AI is a journey, not a destination. We just need to take it for where it is today and understand that it's a process that continues to improve. And hopefully, if we keep the human at the center, it won't replace us. It will benefit us.
Enhance it. Exactly. And Rob?
Yeah, that's really strong close, Christopher. I would add only one thing. The pace of change has never been faster than it is today. At the same time, it is the slowest it will be today. And so we have to be willing to disrupt ourselves, because one way or another, disruption is going to occur from the use of technology. So better that we are the ones leading the disruption, because now we can prepare, we can react and respond, versus having someone else disrupt our experience, disrupt our lives, how we go about things. And now we are on a defensive posture. So I try to stay on offense as much as possible.
Yeah, fair enough. Great insights. I thank you so much, all 3 of you, for sharing openly and all these lovely thoughts that you brought in and different curveball questions and responses. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Today.
Thanks for joining Digital Dialogue. Look for more episodes at noon Eastern Time on most Tuesdays of every month. Can't join the live session? You can watch the replay anytime on our YouTube channel.